Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to Mortis FM, a Star Wars podcast. I am Grayson, one of your hosts.
I'm Cole, the other host, Grayson. Today, we're talking about The Harbinger.
The Harbinger. Bad Batch Season 3, Episode 9. Who is the Harbinger? At this point, you probably already know, but I'll reserve that.
We'll give you a couple seconds. Hold on.
Okay. Well, hey, but first of all, let's just say, what did you think of this episode? Spoiler free.
I think that Bad Batch Season 3, The Harbinger, was good. That's all I have to say. Spoiler free.
I agree. I really like this episode. It's one of my favorites, I think, of the season. I have some minor critiques, not necessarily harsh critiques, but just some more so questions rather than anything.
Yeah. I think it was very good for what it was trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of people not exactly upset, but just kind of like about how they wanted something else to be achieved, which,
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I think this question just didn't give us the answers we were hoping for, but
right.
Neither did it for the Batch nor Omega. But before I get too much into it, I guess that's the spoilers. We're going into it. You've been warned. Cole, do you want to start off or shall I? We want to talk about that.
So who talks first?
I just scrubbed through it, so I'd be happy to go through and you can pipe in whenever you'd like.
Yeah, just since it's fresher in your mind. I haven't scrubbed through it recently, so yeah,
okay.
You go ahead.
So we open. We're still on Pabu. Wrecker and Crosshair are helping out with some of the locals, and all the locals are like, "Thanks, Crosshair." And
Thanks, Crosshair.
Like, die. No.
Yeah.
But
yeah, actually,
Wrecker's like, "Look at you, getting some friends, you know?"
Yeah, Crosshair kills one of the members after they thank him.
Just
really
like
terrible scene.
Lieutenant Nolan, he's like, just blast. Anyway, I started blasting.
Yeah.
No, but he's making a good impression on the locals, even if he's a little just, Crosshair being Crosshair.
Crosshair being Crosshair.
Yeah. But Hunter approaches both him and Wrecker, and they're still waiting on answers from Fennec or whoever Fennec has contacted to get answers on what the M count is. What is an M count? Because they still don't know.
Why is an M count?
If you know, you know. So we cut over to Omega. She's playing fetch with Batcher on the beach. It's a nice little scene before Batcher kind of plays the like Fido in the well situation where, well, that's a little bit later, but Batcher is just she goes off and goes off to kind of this cave. Omega's like, "Wait up, like, where you going?" And as she kind of further investigates, gets brought into this. It's still daytime, but there's this little alcove down on the beach, and you hear Batcher whimpering, and you're like, "What's going on?" And very quickly, it is revealed, within moments, that it is Asajj Ventress.
Yeah, they waste no time. There's no pretense, no nothing. Like, she just walks up, Asajj Ventress jump scare.
Yeah.
I really wish that I did not see the trailer or any of the hype around this season, because if I had been watching this episode, I would have lost my mind without the proper knowledge that Ventress was going to be in it.
Whoa, what?
Yeah. And to be honest, I wish that they didn't show it in the trailer. I wish that we just didn't know, because that would have been such a wild review or wild
reveal.
What am I saying? Reveal, yeah.
Yeah.
She's in it now. She's back from the dead, probably.
Is she gonna tell us why? No. But she doesn't need to. Now, we have gotten answers. I want to talk a little bit about in this scene specifically, because we haven't really talked about it. People, I think, immediately were jumping into this episode thinking, oh, are we going to get answers on why Ventress is still alive? What happened after Dark Disciple, And they've assured us through StarWars.com, through an article, that the events line up with Dark Disciple. I wasn't a big fan of Dark Disciple. Cole, I didn't read it, but I did tell him literally everything that happened.
I bought it, and then I was told a couple weeks later, before I had gotten around to reading it, that it wasn't as great.
Yeah.
And now I kind of regret buying it, but
it's still worth the read. I think you would read through it very quickly, and I think it is interesting for other people to kind of make their own opinions on the matter. There's a lot of people that love Dark Disciple, and honestly, I am jealous. I am happy for you, but when I read it, the last half did not strike my fancy. But if you are curious on what happens in Dark Disciple and don't want to read it for yourself, there is a 3-hour long discussion between myself, Connor, Seth.
I thought you said 30. I was like, what?
No. 3 hour, long as Oppenheimer. And we break it down, me, Star Wars Sith, Diamond Figs, and Beyond the Dune Sea. And we had very specific thoughts on it. But yes, anyway, Ventress is back. But another thing that I wanted to talk about, Ventress seemingly got here with no issue. Like, her ship is on the main island that they have been residing at for the past 2 seasons on Pabu, and nobody on that island detected it at all.
The only explanation as to how she found them, which, she says to the batch a couple scenes later, is that she has her ways. And that's fine. This is kind of a topic for a greater discussion that I want to bring up at the end of the episode, but I think there is more reasoning for this than just her saying, "Oh, I have my ways." I think we're gonna know how eventually, but yeah, either way, she just says like, "Yeah, I have my ways."
Now, does she say that in regards to getting to Pabu, or just in terms of how she knows about the M count stuff or the Empire stuff?
I thought she said that in regards to how she found them.
Okay, that makes sense. She does. Like, you're right. Yep.
Yeah, because he's like, how Hunter's like, how'd you find us? And she's like, I have my ways.
Reasons. Which, I mean, it is Ventress. She is an assassin.
The Force.
She is. The Force. I mean, someone suggested, I believe it was Star Wars Explained, suggested that maybe Voss actually helped her. If Voss is still out there, his psychometry ability, they might have gotten hold of, something, and to be like, this is where they're at, the memories of an item.
Maybe Fennec swiped something of Hunters and Wreckers and they didn't know. And then, Ventress gave it to Voss, and Voss is like, they're in Babu,
when we see with Cal in Survivor or in Fallen Order, sometimes it doesn't have to be an item, sometimes it can be a place. Right. So it's not super far. But we still didn't really get any answers with Quinlan Voss either. And I just want to go ahead and say that I believe it has been confirmed since then that we will get answers for not only specifically how Ventress did survive, but all of the kind of questions of, where did she get the lightsaber from? Is Quinlan out there? What exactly is she doing? Like, we still don't even really know why she's interested in M-count bounties, unless we discussed on Dark Side Secrets earlier this week that it might be because of the path. We don't really know. She doesn't really give any inkling of this.
Mysteries open up to more mysteries, it seems.
Yeah. And listen, that's fine with me because this is Bad Batch. This is not the Ventress show,
Yeah, I might as well talk about it now. I'm okay with it because, you're right. This is the Bad Batch show. We don't need her to go, oh, and I found you because of, this person that I know, and also that one time that I died, but it's because I resurrected due to this, and that. Like, she has no reason to tell the Batch any of these things. Like, think about it from a realistic perspective. There's no reason for her to tell them any of that.
Like, why? Why would she?
Yeah, and I also don't think she's going to. I really don't see us seeing her in this season again.
I don't think
some
so.
People
I'm at
think
that,
that
in
we
that camp
will
as well.
But yeah, I'm in the camp where like we're not going to see her again in this season because, according to her actress, this is like just the appetizer for Ventress-based content, and so if we're going to see her maybe in a later show or something like that, which I'd be totally cool with.
At this point,
I'm all for the animated shows, but
I mean, at this point, surely it's Tales of the Jedi,
Probably. I'm just kind of holding out hope that we have another animated show along the way, because
at this point,
Tales of the Jedi is very short, unless they make it bigger. So we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's theories on Ventress, and then there's also people are kind of hoping maybe we get like a Rex specific show.
The Rex and Echo like clone rebellion type thing.
Yeah. And then when I was going back and rewatching those Rebels episodes, I was paying attention to the relics of the Old Republic, the clone episodes in season 2, which are very close to the premiere. And some of the lines that Rex were saying kind of gives me hints on what might happen in Bad Batch, because the way he talks to the Ghost crew, he almost acts like he never fought the Empire in the first place. Like he's only talking in reverence to the Clone Wars. Now, Wolf does report them to the Empire, but the Empire specifically says like, oh, weren't the clones decommissioned? You know, like it's an old clone code. That Empire doesn't say anything, like Callus specifically doesn't say anything about the clones like uprising, right? So I'm kind of thinking that if the clones do this uprising, I think it's going to be kept completely secret. I think the Emperor is going to keep it hush hush.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, everything else about the clones has been buried, and if the uprising takes place on Tantus, all the more reason to make sure nobody knows.
Exactly.
I'm willing to bet, like, yeah. I mean, those low-level Imperials wouldn't know anything about Tantus.
Right.
Like only the people stationed there, right?
Yeah.
And even then, they don't know what's going on. So.
And Rex doesn't say anything about like, oh, you know, I used to fight the Empire. My fight is done. Like he kind of like, and I'm sitting there talking. I'm like, buddy, you did fight the Empire for like a good, year or two, like in the beginning of Bad Batch. And I know that's because Rebels was made before Bad Batch, but I'm kind of like, it's like, did something happen so badly where Rex was like taken out of the fight? Like if this clone uprising happens, was Rex even there? Like, does something happen to him where he's not even able, like, did the Bad Batch step up to kind of take that place of like, Rex, like, you need to rest. Like, we'll do this. We'll take this on. I don't know. I just was like watching it. I'm like, there's something isn't adding up here. Surely they're not going to sacrifice this much continuity, but, yeah.
Either that or like maybe Rex is just trying to go, like he's just trying to like throw out reasons as to why he doesn't want to participate or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see, I guess.
But anyway, so right after that, Ventress bumps into Omega and the Batch quickly. I believe it's because of Batcher. Batcher goes to get them. That's the Fido, Timmy stuck in the well moment,
Yeah.
But I think they quickly approach, and they don't know who Ventress is, because Ventress has got her haircut going on now, which is, I guess,
the pixie cut going on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, she's got Omega by the wrist, and so they quickly kind of have a little confrontation where they ask her some questions, and they're trying to figure out what an M count is and why the Batch is even interested in it. And Omega's like, my friend,
Yeah, my friend.
But ultimately, it's kind of figured out that it's Ventress and Omega. Omega kind of comes clean and is like, why is the Empire after me? Like, and she's like, trust me, you don't really want the answers, like it's just gonna give you more trouble. And Omega's like, no, I need to know what I am. Yeah. So she does. I think she does. I remember she does say midichlorians. Ventress does.
Yes. Yeah.
And they talk a little bit about it. Nothing really that we don't know already, but they're like, oh, that the midichlorians don't determine if you are a Jedi. They're like Omega's like, I'm a Jedi, and she's like, no, don't be silly. Like, just because you have them doesn't make you a Jedi. And later on, towards the end of the episode, she says like, which gets into the kind of confusing part, but she does say, like, if she did have that talent, she'd have to be trained at least a little bit,
Yeah. There's a lot of, I don't know. It really just, again, like mysteries bring it into more mysteries. Cause like, it feels like we got answers, but then we really didn't. It's just more.
We got more questions than answers, really.
Yeah. It's just more of a guessing game. But, I think at this point, Omega wants to find out, like, if she has this, and Ventress is like, fine, I'll give you a few tests to see.
And she does say, like, she's never met a clone that has ever been Force sensitive, but you guys are different, right? Like, there's a chance that maybe.
Yeah. And it's just, first off, it's really interesting seeing Ventress here from a mentor type perspective.
I love it. I think she was personally, I think she was the perfect character for what Omega needed this episode.
Yeah, and might potentially need in the future.
Which,
we could get into talks in at some point in time. But this first test here, it's balancing, right?
It's literally, she's on this slippery rock and she's like balancing a rock on her head and she's kind of doing like, and she's like balancing it. And this scene is so funny to me because Omega is just like, the Batch is watching very intently. And then she's like balancing and she's struggling. She's like, it's too difficult. Like there's, it's so slippery, all of these things. And she's running her mouth and there's this really funny scene that I love Omega is Ventress like grabs her face and like twists it and Omega just kind of has like the look,
Yeah.
And it's just so cute. The animation there is really good.
I think she ends up like maybe slipping and Ventress grabs the rock like without even looking at it. But in the meantime, during this test, the Batch are investigating as to who Ventress is, and they find out, she's that Separatist assassin during the Clone Wars, which Ventress immediately knows. Like she can hear them talking about it.
She's very observant this episode.
Super observant. And she looks down to Omega and she's like, first test is over. There's a flower blooming at the top of the tree, at the top of this island. Go get it before sunset.
So the Batman Begins music starts to play and
and Omega's like, well, the sun's already setting. And I think Ventress just looks at her.
She's like, not my problem.
And obviously this was done to give her and the Batch some alone time to kind of sort this out.
Hash it out, yeah.
Yeah.
So Omega's booking it, and then she gets on Batcher to get up to the flower, while the Batch, they more or less they're like, hey, you need to leave. We know who you are, sort of thing, and they're being very protective of Omega, watching her intently. But they end up, they get into a fight. And Ventress, this fight rocks, by the way.
Dude, Ventress absolutely messes them up.
It's
kind of embarrassing. Like I don't like seeing my boys getting slapped around like that. But I gotta say, like, in between this and the last time we saw Ventress, she's leveled up, man. I don't know what it is, but like she is so much more apt and capable. I think like her bounty hunting days and whatever has happened during like post purge has really just given her a whole lot of on the field experience.
She does most of this fight without her lightsaber. She doesn't ignite her lightsaber till the very end, and even then she still gets them all on the ground by the time Omega comes back.
Then when she does come back, Ventress says something along the lines of like, we're all pawns in the same game. I'm not your enemy. We were all kind of victims to the same circumstance.
We're all used.
Which is again just a really great way to look at it. I remember Wrecker later saying, "We were just getting warmed up for sure."
He makes this funny line, and it's just like we ain't even warmed up yet. But so they kind of she brings the flower. She does get it in time. But eventually they kind of suspend the training, and the Batch is like, nah, she's got to go. Like, there's no way we can trust her. And Omega kind of there's this really good moment between her and Crosshair where she's like, I didn't give up on you. You are basically our enemy, and now you're with us. Like, just because Ventress was once our enemy doesn't mean she is now. It's clear that like the Batch is being very overprotective, and they kind of have they just kind of have these preconceived notions, but they're like, it's true. Like they're just being overprotective, and that theme and that discussion comes up a little bit later until. And even throughout this entire episode, they're still doing that because they finally do let her train a little bit with Ventress. And this is probably my favorite part in the episode. But the next day, they go out on a boat with the let her and Ventress go alone, but the Batch are still watching,
they're still watching. And there's that moment where Wrecker's looking through his binocs, and Ventress just looks back at him. Which is I think Wrecker's like, whoa, how did you do that?
It's like she's like, she looked right at me. It's interesting because Crosshair mentions in an earlier episode, it's like knowing when you're being watched.
Right.
And so like it shows that Ventress, there's a lot of commonalities between Ventress and Crosshair because they both were pawns in this, not only for the, what Crosshair was for the Republic, but then was for the Empire. Ventress was for the Separatists. They're both assassins. They both did terrible things. Ventress for, I would say, much longer than Crosshair did.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly that there's a lot of that theme just throughout the show of just kind of like coming to terms with what you've done, especially the clones that adhered to their inhibitor chips. Like Cody. We still got to see Cody, but he said that line about about your mistakes. You got to live with them. We have Wolf as well, where he's still with the Empire. Yeah. Rex showed some regret too about his inhibitor chip initially. There's just a lot of this show brings up just so many good themes here. But yeah, so we're on this third task, and Ventress is trying to get Omega to reach out and just kind of like feel the life throughout the sea.
Yep, reach out into the Force, which is obviously a classic kind of training moment for all Jedi, whether it's Luke in Empire Strikes Back or Rey in The Last Jedi, et cetera, et cetera. And so she's reaching out and trying to kind of feel all of the creatures, and Omega can't do it. She's like, it's not possible. And so Ventress is like, sit down, kid. Let me show you. Let me learn you something.
Yeah. There was this specific line. I might be getting it wrong, but I remember while I was watching the episode, you know how like sometimes when you watch shows and like you can tell when someone's about to say something, so you kind of say it to yourself and they say it at the same time. You're like, oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Omega, like Ventress had Omega reach out, and Omega's like, reach out for what and feel what? And Ventress is like, everything, And I remember I said to myself, I was like, man, say everything. And like, I don't know, that was really good.
Yeah. So she reaches out to all these like bioluminescent fish that surround their ship, and it's like Omega's like kind of it literally is kind of the same thing with Luke trying to lift the X-wing,
right? Exactly.
Whereas like it's because that's why you fail. I can't do it. I don't believe it. It's like that's why you fail, and it's literally that where Ventress is like, fine, I'll do it, and she does. And Omega is in amazement. Unfortunately, because this is the Bad Batch, and every episode does have a big monster. Like it's literally like the joke writes itself.
There's always a bigger fish.
Like yeah, exactly. Like I get that that it is a thing with the Bad Batch to have these big monsters. It's kind of crazy how often it happens.
There's been so many big monsters in this season, man.
Yeah, Wrecker even says it on the episode where they go back to the outpost, and he's like, "Why is it always a big monster?" But here they are, and there is this giant, color-changing tentacle crustacean thing, and immediately when I saw it, because I had read Dark Disciple, on Dathomir there is a creature that Quinlan Voss kills, and this is a trial that Ventress puts Voss through to help kind of bring him to kind of harden his heart a little bit to where he would be, he's willing to kill Dooku, right? To get him closer to the dark side. And so there's this kind of parallel in the book where Ventress, and when they get to Dathomir, she like controls the snake and then kills it at the last moment. And then and she tries to get Voss to do that, and Voss fails. But then when they get word of Dooku being on Raxus, Quinlan is like, I can kill the Sleeper is this ancient creature that basically the Night Sisters would, in their initiation, control, tame, but they never killed it. It's this ancient being. They don't even really know what it looks like. It's in the depths of this water.
Yeah.
And they describe it. And honestly, that's what we see in the Bad Batch is weirdly exactly what I or very close to what I pictured in my mind, maybe slightly different. And I think that was intentional because in this, they, the Batch comes by, they're trying to fight it and they're wrestling with it. And, but before I get too far with I'll bring it kind of up that parallel at the same time. So like the tentacle grabs Ventress, she cuts off its arm, and the Batch get in the Marauder and kind of shoot at it. And so eventually they're like, no, like we can't kill it. And so Ventress like is grabbed by it, but she reaches out with the Force to tame it. very similar to what we see with a lot of Jedi and creatures. And this is a big moment for Ventress, because this is very, at least if you've only watched the Clone Wars and even read The Dark Disciple, not something Ventress would do. Ventress typically would not have an issue killing this creature. And what's, I think, a beautiful mirror, and the one thing that I do like this connection to Dark Disciple, is that when Quinlan Voss reaches out to this creature, he doesn't want to kill it, but he ultimately, he crushes it with the Force. Like he suffocates it. And that's kind of helped to bring him closer to the dark side. This is almost like a direct mirror, where to see where Ventress has come, where she reaches out with the Force and touches it, and it lets her go, and it goes back to where it came from.
Soothing it, yeah. Mm-hmm. I guess she's been spending a lot of time maybe with Quinlan, or like just... I don't know.
You know, at the end of Dark Disciple, she is the one that doesn't want Voss to kill Dooku, because she's seen what the dark side has done to him. And again, like even with all my complaints with Dark Disciple, that is one thing that I like. I just wish it was executed better. I, of course, love the lesson of not killing your enemy with hate, right? Mm-hmm. And it's this full circle moment where Ventress at the end is like, don't, you know, like she's proud of Quinlan for not killing Dooku. Yeah. Of course, Dooku could not be killed because he's alive in Revenge of the Sith, so it kind of writes you in a box.
Armor.
He did have plot armor. But now seeing where she's come from, whether she's with Quinlan or not, remains to be seen, but it shows that she has come a long way since that happens in the book where Quinlan does that, and she encourages Quinlan to do that. Now she's on the opposite end.
Well, she was also grabbed by that creature. Omega was grabbed by this sea creature, and Ventress went in there to save her, like cut off the tentacle, right? And so like clearly there's I don't know, like she's got a heart. Of course she does. We even saw a little bit of it in the Clone Wars. Like she felt bad for Ahsoka.
Or when that bounty hunting mission with Boba, where that girl was kidnapped, and they were working a job to protect the train, and then she ends up actually saving the girl, you know, at the end of it, right? She's got a heart. There's something in her that is, you know, still something there, right?
Something's changed. I think there is something very special about Ventress in this episode. Like she's the same character, but it feels like a lot of her fundamentals and her ideals have shifted since the last time that we saw her. She's also a lot more serious, like way less sly, you know, like she just says things as matter-of-factly, and I don't know, like you can tell that she's really gone through a lot. I really like what they're doing with her character here. I have no idea where we're going to see her next, but I want to see more. It was good.
I do want to see more, and I think we will. But right after this, after she, you know, soothes the creature, which is also a parallel to Omega, where like Omega is very in tune with nature, with whether it's, you know, the Wookiees on Kashyyyk or with Batcher. There's something. And it brings up those questions, because then we lead right into the scene where we're like, okay, do I have a high M count? And she's like, based on what I've seen, no. And you're like, okay, interesting. Well, then she's like, you know, thanks for trying, like, you know, thank you for trying at least.
Yeah.
And so she walks away, and immediately Crosshair's like, you're lying. And this is where she's like, lying about what? And she's like, you know, she does have like a high M count, and she's like, even if she did, she'd have to be trained to unlock that power. And this is where kind of all the questions are led, right? But you know, she also says before Omega, she's like, you know, consider yourself lucky. If you had a high M count, you'd be a target by the Empire. She's like, I'm already a target. And it just creates more questions, because you're like, why is the Empire going after her? Is she now? Is Ventress lying? Like, did she not see enough? Because she never took a straight blood test, you know. I guess maybe she doesn't have that lying around, you know, because I guess Qui-Gon had that I'm sure Jedi carry that around with him in the case that they do find Force-sensitive children. And Ventress is not a Jedi, at least at this current moment in time. She used to be, but she's a very unconvinced. She was almost trained like a Boken Jedi, because she was trained by Kai Narek on a planet where he was stranded and had no access to any other the Jedi Council. So
that's true. And I mean, it also brings up the question of, still, why is she looking for people with M count? Clearly she's not. I mean, clearly she's not bringing them in for the cash. You know, like it was already made very known to us that her intention is not to bring these M count people in. I still think it's because of what you and I said last time, where she's trying to look for bounty hunters that are looking for M count stuff to essentially like stop them, or try to lead people with sufficient M count that are being hunted along the path. Which, you know, as we know, Quinlan is part of or did take part in the path in the Kenobi show. So, you know, things are kind of starting to connect together.
Do you think the path has been established yet? Because we don't know how far into the timeline we are post Revenge of the Sith, but it's like we don't really know when the path was founded or even who founded the path.
Maybe it was Ventress and Quinlan. I mean, honestly, that would be very interesting.
People are wanting, that is another big request, is people are wanting a show called like The Path, right?
Yeah, I mean, that could be such a good show, honest to God.
Of course. Think how many characters you could introduce in that. Again, I think we mentioned this last week. Starkiller would be a great villain for that show.
Oh my goodness. Because Rom Coda's on the path too. I mean, according to, you know, what we see on the wall. A little reference as it is. Yeah. But one thing that Ventress also mentions both to Omega and to the Batch is that they seem to be holding her back. Like they're holding Omega back, and that if she wants to grow, she's gonna have to leave them behind. Especially if she went into training, she's like, she might be, but if she is, she'd have to be trained, and that would have to be away from you guys, you know. She's like,
they're like, that's not gonna happen, and she's like, well, it might happen whether you like it or not, which is not so subtle foreshadowing.
Yeah, she was like, it might happen whether you like it or not, because if I found you, the Empire's going to find you. You're not as hidden as you think.
You're not as safe as you think you are.
Yeah, and I think maybe I'm looking too much into it, but the design for the environment in Pabu, the sky is cloudy, it's overcast. Every time we see Pabu, it's always real pretty looking. It looks like a paradise, you know. Yeah. It's completely safe there. It doesn't look safe now. It was overcast for the entire episode. The episode ended on like a kind of note, you know, because all you see is you see her fly away into the clouds, and that's it. The shot ends.
And she also says, like, get out of here as quick as you can. Like, she says that to them, right? And they're like, what about the Empire with you? Or like, and she's like, you know, they can come after me if they want to. And she does say like the line about like, you know, I've got a few more lives, right? Which is subtle enough for me to address what happens to her in Dark Disciple. But yeah, like Ventress found them, and she's like, you're not safe. Get out of here. Right? Like the Empire will find you. And that makes me think, a lot of people think Pabu next week is done. That's what they think.
Well, the thing is, whenever we have a two-parter, things get intense. And next week is a two-parter.
Big Gooberfish two-parter.
Big Gooberfish.
That's always what happens.
And given that we haven't seen Hemlock in a couple episodes, it's kind of like darkness growing in the distance.
Did you see the quote that surfaced today, I believe, or yesterday, where the producers have said the next few episodes are the darkest of the Bad Batch yet?
Oh man! Oh, Pabu's gonna get raised.
We're so done, bro. It's over.
It's over. It's over, man. Game over, man.
I'm not. Yeah, I mean, and to bring up your point, like the episode literally, there's nothing that happens after Ventress flies away. She flies away, cold cut to black.
There's no music either. Like it just, things are not good. Things are not good. And I don't know what to think. We only have a couple days left. At the time of recording, it's like 4 days. 4 days until go time. So
this is episode 9. You get 2 episodes next week, and then after that, 4 more episodes. 4 more weeks, roughly. Yeah. I believe. So, I don't know. Next week is Identity Crisis and Point of No Return. Yeah. We speculated a little bit on Dark Side Secrets of whether I originally thought it was Wolf-centric, but now, after rewatching Rebels and seeing how Wolf is like in that show, I am beginning to think no. Now Hemlock stuff, Clone X stuff,
could be a double entendre. You know, could be multiple people.
Yeah.
So All I gotta say is that I'm not ready for this.
No.
The darkest in the Bad Batch show. That's what they said.
They said that this is the darkest that it's gonna get, or like the darkness is. I can't remember exactly the quote, but yeah, it's been circulating that these upcoming episodes are where it's gonna get dark.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Bad Batch. It was good. It was a good run.
Rest in peace, Pabu. You were a nice place to live.
That goes I really do think that goes the theories of people being like, oh, the Bad Batch lives and they just stay on Pabu. Nah, bro, that ain't happening. I don't think.
If the Empire finds Pabu, then it's over. They're not gonna retire to Pabu anymore. I think if anything, this was like a glimpse into a life that could have been, because as we see over and over and over and over and over again, Hunter is like really just trying to run away from it all at this point. He's like, I just want to, make sure we get Omega and just live a peaceful life. But like even Rex said like a couple episodes ago was like you're basically in this whether you like it or not. You're gonna have to take a part in this.
Yep. Something's gonna have to force their hand to where it's like, all right, we gotta fight, and we have to let go of Omega.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what's gonna. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they let her go with Ventress at the end of the series.
That was you brought that up earlier. Like, do we think she's gonna go off with Ventress at some point?
I think that Ventress would be a great teacher for Omega to have because we can already tell that dynamic is really good for them. I don't know.
I do like their dynamic a lot.
So, and Omega just has this effect on people that like she basically has a great dynamic with everybody.
Yeah.
And on her path of healing people, maybe Ventress might be next up. But I mean, Ventress seems to be doing all right, all things considered. But, man, I think like just this entrance to maybe like a bounty hunting show with Omega and Ventress.
Connections to Boba. We were speculating
to Boba and to Cad and to Fennec. Like having all these connections here. I feel like it's being set up. So, dude, that'd be wild if like they ended up separating into two shows, like the bounty hunting Ventress Omega show and then the Clone Rebellion show.
Yeah.
Kind of like splitting into two. I don't see it happening, but I mean that'd be something.
I'm in the camp that I think the clones are done. I don't know. I think after this, it's off to Sealos with Rex and Gregor and Wolf. But
what's gonna happen to the batch, though? What's gonna happen?
I'm also now in the camp that I do not think Vader is showing up in this show. I think early on, I
don't think so either.
No.
Just based on like the trajectory of the show, I think Vader being in there would be like way too forced, I think. I mean, if they did, there would have to be like a real reasoning to do it. But well, honestly, we'll just have to see.
We'll have to see.
Yeah, we should stop making predictions, I guess, because like it's just throwing us for a loop again.
At this point, my predictions in terms of like I am expecting the worst, not in terms of like quality of content, just like what's gonna happen. It is not going to be pleasant nor happy. I think the only glimmer of hope is maybe Omega makes it out. I'm the more I think about it, I mean, like we are rapidly approaching the end, and I am like it's making me sad, dude.
I know, like I mean, honestly, what if the show ends with the Clone Rebellion being crushed? Rex, Gregor, and Wolf have to go into hiding, and the batch ends up getting captured and put under the Clone X program where they get turned into Scar Squadron. Yeah. Like that, and they'd have to be separated from Omega. Like Omega would have to like go. A sad ending for the series. I don't.
It's not gonna be good. It's not gonna be pleasant. I mean, the last episode is called "The Cavalry Has Arrived." Come on, they're done.
It's over. It's over.
Oh man. Well, do you have any final thoughts before we jump into maybe a more positive card?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a good episode. I'm scared.
Yeah.
I need to call my mom. I flew up.
Yeah. I fear it is going to be Clone Wars Season 7 finale all over again.
God.
If not worse, which is possibly one of the saddest moments I've ever had experiencing Star Wars in the moment.
Well, these we are in the Dark Times era, so they don't call them that for nothing. I mean, if the Clone Rebellion succeeded, there would be probably wouldn't be as like bad of a period, but clearly it didn't work out. So,
guys, enjoy the journey while you can. We're trying to do that right now. I'm getting too sad. I'm drawing a card. All right. Let us know what you thought of this episode. Did you have
I don't know
critiques?
if Tech's gonna come back. Like maybe
I don't think so. I don't think so.
If he gets revealed as the Clone X, he might not. I don't think he'll actually end up coming back either. I think it might just be like this is how it is now. It can't be undone.
Yeah, he might just be. I don't know, dude. I don't know. I don't know. All right, well, got a card here. Card 72. It's very interesting because before we were recording, we were talking about cool lightsabers. This adds to that.
Okay.
Would you rather have a lightsaber with blades that spin, like the Inquisitors? It says of Obi-Wan Kenobi, but like the Inquisitors. Or a lightsaber blade that transforms into a whip, like Venestra Rowe, a Jedi Knight of the High Republic. That's so funny that people, because I know Venestra Rowe is in the Acolyte. Inquisitor lightsaber or light whip lightsaber. And now I will say the light whip, it goes from regular to being a light whip, so you kind of have the option.
Okay.
I think I have my answer personally.
Yeah, I think I've got mine as well. Who talks first?
Hey, I went through the episode. Okay. I led us away from the depressive nature of the Bad Batch. Why don't you take the lead on your choice?
For me, I'm gonna say the light whip.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I take it your answer's different?
I'm helicopter, bro. I'm burring. I'm flying around. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me,
we also talked about this a few days ago, which was really funny.
Yeah. So for me, the helicopter blade, right? I kind of went into depth in like a personal conversation with you. I think like as we've seen, the only real advantage that the helicopter blades seem to give is that it overwhelms your opponent and that it can make you fly. Real neat. And I think like for standard enemies, like let's talk Grievous for a moment. Let's talk my favorite Star Wars villain, Grievous. Grievous, even though I love him, the way that he is in canon, he really like he's not as good as the plot had originally introduced him to be.
Yeah.
He always ends up defaulting to spinny blade because he gets overwhelmed from the training and the discipline of the Jedi. And as we've seen, against a disciplined opponent, Spinny Blade don't do jack. Even Marok via Ahsoka, all you have to do is wait for that precise moment to strike. And I'm just going to go ahead and say again what I said during that conversation, is that I think the Inquisitors having the spinning blade is very indicative of how the dark side is that it is very quick, very easy power, but against actual training and discipline, it's essentially useless.
Yeah.
And like you don't like a child could hold out their hand and make it spin, and they could kill anyone that doesn't know how to deflect against it, right?
Yeah.
And that is the dark side. It's quick and easy power. That's why Grievous was meant to be kind of the analogy that he was. It's that he sacrificed his body for all this power, but it really means nothing at the end of the day. But really in the conversation of light whip versus spinning blade, like the spinning blade's cool. I think I probably just wouldn't use it as much. I think like with the light whip, it would be a lot harder to master, but when you master it, like it's gonna be nasty. I really hope we get to see it in action in the show.
That'd be great.
Yeah, because like I'm thinking like Trevor Belmont from the Castlevania series, like using his is it a Morning Star? Is that specifically what it is? But basically his whip, right? And it kind of like flies around, and it's. I don't know, just like being able to master that and also turning it on and off, having that dexterity there, it would give me a lot of range right? So like kind of like slice, whip, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be awesome to combo. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm actually curious. So why Spinning Blade for you?
So here's the thing is I'm not a huge fan of the Inquisitor lightsabers, but when I think of the applications of that saber versus the light whip, I'll be honest, using a whip is hard. Now, would it be cool to do? Yeah. Yes. But I think, listen, as silly as it is, the helicopter function is very useful, all right?
It is.
Like in terms of like flying. Like I know you don't see it as much now, but I rewatched Rebels recently, like I said earlier, and seeing, like, I was like, that's a really helpful thing. Now, would I use that as a crutch? No. Right. That's the thing, is that the Inquisitors, they use the function too much as a crutch rather than a tool. Yeah. For myself, really the only time I think I would use that helicopter function is either, again, to ascend, to move up higher, to use it as a boost for the Force, or when I have a lot of blaster shots coming at me, because you turn that thing on, and that's basically a shield right there. Now, the folly is with these Inquisitors, is with the Grand Inquisitor, with Marok, etc. They use it in these fights as kind of like a, hey, you can't get past this thing. Yeah. And that's the fault, right? Is using it in this quick and easy path, like you said, which is, an exhibition of the dark side at its core. Right. I personally would use it more as a defense tool, but when it comes to saber combat, I'm turning both. I'm only getting it down to one blade, and I'm moving where how it kind of goes into a circle. It flips over into kind of like where it just has that protective handle. Right. That's how I would use it in a fight. I want it to be more structured and disciplined. It's just being able to have the nice bells and whistles of, no, okay, I can fly up, or I can if I had a bunch of people behind me, like, I think about the protective uses you could have. So I'm thinking it about it in a Jedi way, not a Sith way, I guess.
Well, see, now you got me thinking, like, imagine the spinning mechanic with the training and discipline of a Jedi. Like, imagine what that could achieve. I mean, it might be able to really help you during a objectively stronger opponent. That's essentially Grievous explaining to Dooku why he needs those additions. But now I'm also thinking, like, oh my god, what if there was what if it was a spinning light whip, like two light whips just spinning around?
That would be dangerous. Like, that would
it would kill the user. The user would die.
Just like get absolutely shredded.
Yeah, I really need to see a light whip in action, because even though that's the one that I chose, it's really hard for me to imagine it, because if it is the same efficacy as a lightsaber, where it literally raises anything it touches, right? I'm imagining just kind of, that would just be really clean, though.
I'm thinking of, like, say you're surrounded by, we'll say battle droids, right? And you just, like, literally Indiana Jones, like, whip it around you and just decapitate all of them, or being able to, like, to extend it and cut a blaster, right? Like, someone's got you pinned down, flip it, and just whip the barrel right off that blaster, they're done.
Yeah. I wonder if you could, like, use the Force to manipulate the whip,
Oh, surely. I think so.
Like, imagine, like, being able to kind of, like, control its movement, right? Like, making it almost like, I don't know, like, have one whip in the hand and then kind of go like
it's an extension of yourself, right?
Yeah. Or two light whips, dude. Wild. Absolutely wild.
Yeah. I think for me, just with the Inquisitor lightsaber, not using it in such a dumb way the Inquisitors do, if that makes sense. Like, they didn't say, you gotta be stupid, you gotta freaking just fly around and be like, like, it's just basically spin function is only to cover maybe like a hover distance, all right? You're like, I gotta get across a chasm or something, hop up and flip that on and kind of fly across, or to kind of ascend heights, and then to use it in a protective manner, or to be like, troops get behind me, I'm gonna push us forward and turn that. Like, remember in Destiny when the Titans could have that shield, and they could push forward? That's kind of what I'm thinking of it in a protective way and in a strategic way, not a you're done. Like, it's the cocky nature of the Sith or the dark side.
It's just they relied on it too much. You know,
They do. They really do. And I mean, and it's important to note, like, most of the Inquisitors were Padawans, right? That's why they kind of went that way. Like, there's a couple of rare exceptions with someone like the Grand Inquisitor where he was a temple guard, and I think he uses it the most effectively. He doesn't ever use it in really a dumb way, other than Kanan kind of gets the one up with him where he shoves both the lightsabers and splits it in half. So yeah.
What a great way to undo that too.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing because it's such a cool way to think about that. But for me personally, like, let's say if I was up against someone in a fight, like, I know the disadvantages of using that in a one-on-one fight. If it is lightsaber on lightsaber combat, I'm going, you know, I probably am not using the double-bladed feature. I'm going strictly one-blade combat. Because even when Marok fights Ahsoka in Ahsoka, when he uses it just with the one-blade version, he handles himself pretty well.
He honestly, like, he handled himself like pretty well throughout most of like their altercations. And it's funny that it's really only when he used that utility that he ended up getting killed. So yeah, because
another good function I'm thinking would be like, oh, say you have like a TIE fighter coming at you, right? Being able to throw it with the spin function and to like cut off the one of the wings of it would be nice, but like, it would be really rare, I think, for me personally to do that, you know, because it's just so dangerous.
I mean, like, maybe like having it in spin mode and then using the Force to throw it out, just kind of like a buzzsaw. I mean, that would be that. Yeah, it definitely has some utility. I think I would say it is inherently aggressive as a utility, but it could be used for defensive purposes.
If I was a Jedi after Order 66 and that was all I had, I would, like, if I got to the black market and it's like, we got one of these Inquisitor sabers, or we got this light whip, I'm like, listen, the times are tough. I'm going with the Inquisitor saber, you know?
Yeah, I will say, like, even though I'm choosing the light whip, I'm fully understanding that, like, I'm not gonna. This is gonna be really difficult to use.
Yeah,
which
I mean,
is
they
why
both are. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, I'm setting that whip to training mode, you know, because I'm gonna hit myself in the face like over and in the shins all the time. That's gonna be like a razor scooter. I'm just gonna
you'd have no leg. Just
well, because it's in training mode. Like, I want to make it in training mode, so so that doesn't happen. But yeah. Great choice. That was a good question. I like that one.
That is a good question. I love talking about little debates like that because it's like, because I mean, like, I'm just personally someone, I just like a traditional one-bladed lightsaber. Call me simple. And I know I don't know if that's necessarily a hot take, but I think a lot of people, when they think of lightsabers, like, they want the craziest lightsaber, you know? But so I wouldn't typically lean towards an Inquisitor lightsaber. Like, traditionally, I think they're kind of dumb. I don't think they're dumb. Like, I think they're creative, but they all ultimately end up being the folly of that whatever character is using it. So
its use is niche. I'll say, like, it's very niche.
I think the light whip has more practical applications in combat.
I think it has a lot more versatility. And it is also just kind of so different to what the lightsaber is. I mean, it's literally a sword and whip difference there. So I think it just brings versatility to my move set, right? So,
it's
like,
a trick weapon from Bloodborne.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
I love Bloodborne.
Isn't there a weapon in Bloodborne where he does? I love Bloodborne as well. There is a trick weapon where it goes from like a sword to like a, you know, right? Isn't there a weapon? There's
Bloodborne? It's one of the first ones that you can get. It's a cane.
The cane.
You hit with the cane and then you'll stamp it to the ground. And then it'll go into whip form.
That's the perfect example right there.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what it is.
Don't you like that weapon?
I like choosing that one because it's fun.
Yeah.
But also there's a big one called the Beast Cutter, which is like a really big like club-like thing that basically has the same purpose, but it's like a massive chain whip almost.
It's like a cross guard turned into a whip, you know?
Literally, I mean, it's like you're throwing like the chainsaw chains around almost.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, that's just some really cool stuff there. I'm I'm also a one saber guy, at least in terms of like I think it's classic, but I also really love the usage of two sabers.
Oh yeah.
I think when you master that, it's so much fun. So like I think where I'd have it my way, I would want to master using two. But maybe have the ability to kind of I'll use one every now and then, you know. You really have to size up your opponent. It's like with Ahsoka and Balin, like eventually she switches to one, right? Where like, you know, you kind of have to call it how you see it. And I think that's what I would like to do. Lightsabers, man. Very cool.
I love lightsabers. I also really random that you mentioned that because I forget that Ahsoka only has one lightsaber left now. She's used to fighting with two, but she lost her Shoto, I believe. So she just has her main one now. But honestly, I'm kind of excited to see how Ahsoka kind of goes full samurai with it, full Ronin, like she is.
There you go.
There you go. Cole, where can they find you?
You can find me at the.cosmic.drifter on Instagram, and you can also find my YouTube channel at The Cosmic Drifter.
Link in the description.
Check me out. I'm also going to put down a couple different links for you to see there as well. I might set up a Ko-Fi coffee, just to kind of like help our production, which I believe, Grayson, we're going to be doing soon for Mortis FM.
Yes, we are approaching 200 subs, and while I am not doing this full time or anything, I figured, you know, there's a lot of guys that you really, really do truly support us, and I appreciate you. We both appreciate you a ton. I've been very thankful to be able to DM with you guys and interact with you guys, just the consistent listeners in our circle in the Star Wars community, whether you came from, some people from Beyond the Dune Sea or Diamond Figs or Star Wars Sith, or you just found us and that's how you got to it. However, we're thankful. So when we hit that 200 sub mark, that will be a way that you can very simply, but no obligation, support us. So yeah. It'll be pretty cool, but I'm very pumped. I think we're sitting currently while we're recording this, we are at 194. So there are 6 subs left before we hit 200, which is kind of crazy because I feel like we hit 100 like not that long ago. So it's
growing and growing every day.
And
we're very happy to see you guys. Thanks to some of you guys who tuned into Dark Side Secrets this most recent Wednesday. We got a lot of viewers on that one. I was really happy to see everybody.
Yeah, you guys have been turning up on Dark Side Secrets. I've been on there pretty consistently, and then Cole got to join us this week as well. So, and even if I'm not on that, go subscribe to those guys. It's Tony and Will. They typically stream. It's Star Wars Sith or Diamond Figs on YouTube. But if I'm on it, it's gonna go to our channel as well, which you have already seen. So, but you can follow me. I guess I should say that at Shradester8, and you can follow both of us at Mortis FM or on TikTok at Mortis_FM, because I guess somebody took Mortis FM. I don't know. I got to double check on that. But yeah, that is going to do it for this episode. Stay tuned for next week where we cover Identity Crisis and Point of No Return for Bad Batch Season 3. Cole.
Next week's going to be rough, man.
It's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. I have a feeling, but Cole, is there anything?
I got a bad feeling about this. That's what I have to say. I have a bad feeling about this. Yeah.
Well, at the very least, we have the Force. And with that being said, may the Force be with you.
Always.